We have an outstanding presentation that I'm sure nobody will want to miss, so thank you all for getting settled in your seats in a quick manner. So now I'd like to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Lisa Mitchell. Lisa is the founder of Power Body Language and is a communications expert specializing in body language and nonverbal communication. She's a certified forensic interviewer and a certified body language trainer and holds a master's degree in management. Lisa works with companies across the world to provide training and workshops and has been featured in national media outlets. Lisa's presentation today is titled Winning at High Consequence Conversations, and she'll share how being able to read people can help increase your influence and success. Please welcome Lisa Mitchell.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I appreciate it. Hello, hello. How was lunch? Good. I heard there was some taco and some Mexican fiesta fun happening there. Good. Well, I am so excited to be here at the ACES 15th Annual Member Conference. I have had the privilege of working with ACES on several previous events, and I'm always so excited and honored to be welcomed back. So today, we're kind of taking a new spin on the traditional conversation, and there's going to be a little bit expected of you. I'm going to warn you up front. You're going to be asked to participate. You're going to even be asked to talk to other people. So everybody can groan now, right? Get it out of your system. Nothing harmful or hurtful or too hard, I promise. There also, I heard this is a gold star, there are no charts or graphs included in my presentation today. So you can just give me the bonus points now. Yeah, that's great. No, I know you guys have a lot of information to cover in your other sessions. So every conversation that you have has a consequence, whether you like it or not. There are no zero-sum interactions. And I want to ask you, how easy are you making it for you to get the outcomes that you want in an interaction? How clear is it? How much do you plan ahead of time? How much do you know what that outcome is going to look and feel like? And we think, oh yeah, I'm great. I'm a pro at conversation. I talk all the time, even when no one's listening, right? But what we're gonna walk through today is a process. There's a process that's gonna help you have more beneficial outcomes and give you a better, clearer, more concise set of strategies to use to maximize the interactions that you have the opportunity to be in. So the first thing I need you to do, because you did just get back from a carb-infested lunch, is I need y'all to get up, please. If you're able, that would be great. Okay, and so this is the part I warned you about. I need you to find another human. Just one. Excuse me, AV, my timer is not on. Thank you. Okay, have we found another human? Is anyone humanless? Okay. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna decide between the two of you who gets to be human one and who gets to be human two. So go ahead and thumb wrestle for that right now. Okay, human ones, raise your hand. Welcome to the bossy people, y'all. Okay, I'm just joking. You guys look like you can take a joke, so I'm gonna have a little bit of that today. Okay, so human one, here's your mission. I'll assume you choose to accept it because I'm not giving you the option. You are going to have about 60 seconds, and in that time, I want you to communicate to human two, or your partner in this case, two things. The first is, what is something that you're working on right now that you're excited about? What is something you're working on right now that you are excited about? Data point number two is, what is one recent win that you have had? That can be personally or professionally. Both of these can be personally or professionally. Okay, are we clear? We're gonna have about 60 seconds, and then I'm gonna need y'all to Tone it down so your partner gets time. Something you're working on right now that you're excited about, and a recent win that you've had personally or professionally. Are we good? All right, time starts now. All right, we have about 10 seconds left to tell somebody how wonderful you are. Okay, person one, wrap up your fabulousness. All right, so person two, make sure you take a mental snapshot of what you just heard, because you got to receive some amazing data. Aren't you impressed with who you're standing next to? Right? Everybody's winning. Everybody's got things that they're working towards that they're excited about. All right, person two, it is your time to shine. Same thing. You're going to share one thing that you're working on right now that you're excited about, and then you're going to share one recent win that you've had. Carry on. Timer started. Okay, time is up. Person two, finish sharing how incredible and amazing you are and what you're excited about. Okay, let's wrap it up. Here's how we're going to end this. Okay, we have just officially provided positive evidence that we are in a room of amazing, excited people. So high five your partner, clap it out, fist bump them, whatever you need to do to show that you appreciate them and that you share their excitement. All right, and you guys can have a seat after that. Hopefully you're feeling a little energized, a little inspired. Maybe you even heard about somebody's win or somebody's excitement or something that somebody's working on that you can partner with them to help them move forward. Okay, let's keep it moving. They keep me on a timer, guys. They're going to kick me off, I promise. Okay, so hopefully what we learned is, A, this room is awesome. There's lots of people working on exciting things and having big wins, and we can all share in the excitement and the energy around that. So congratulations. Now, you all just shared, whether you knew it or not, I gave you some targets to work for. Do you guys feel like you were pretty strategic in that communication, like you knew where you were headed with it? I don't know how I could have made it any clearer, so if anybody didn't feel strategic about it, you need to see me later. Right? You were pretty strategic, but what you also did is you provided a ton of data to the person that you're talking to. And it wasn't just your words, it was your nonverbal communication, your facial expressions, it was your vocal tonality, your emotionality. You just downloaded so much data to the person across from you, and it only took 2 simple questions. So when you think about, the reason we did that is to help you understand how much happens in each conversation that you're having. And when you have a plan, when you set goals, when you've spent some time developing the persona of the person or the people that you're talking to, and then you get really tactical about reading it well and managing yourself, there's no reason that you can't win every conversation that you're in, right? And win does not necessarily mean a contract or a yes or you've gained something and someone's lost. A win of a conversation means that you've created the experience that you were hoping to create with the person across from you. Does that make sense? So now that we know so much about each other, anybody want to change seats? Everybody still feeling like safe here? Okay, good. So I get asked a lot, why do you do this? Like, you have one of the most random careers ever in the whole world. My parents are usually the one asking me that, like, still doing that thing? And I'm like, yeah, Mom, still doing that thing, right? And I didn't just wake up one morning when I was 8 years old and decide, I want to teach communications and be a body language expert. Although, in retrospect, it probably would have landed better with my parents at 8 than it did after as I called to tell them, oh, I'm leaving 20 years in corporate, and by the way, this is what I'm doing now. But they are excited. I do get to go on TV fairly frequently, so they have something to brag about on Facebook, so my mom is happy. And then my dad gets to talk about me at the coffee shop, which also gives me like good daughter street cred. So there's still the novelty there. So the reason I do this, I have 2 answers for this. So the business answer is that I know the power of effective communication. I know how it can transform leadership teams, executives, and organizations as a whole. That's true. Every ounce of it is true, and I love it, and I love doing that. But with any good life pivot, that's not really why I do this, right? Why I really do this is because I had a pretty substantial wake-up call about how much I was not clued in and how poorly I was communicating. About 10 years ago, within the span of 48 hours, and this is a safe space, right? Because I'm going to share some stuff with y'all. Don't judge me. Within the span of about 48 hours, I closed 4 retail locations, laid off 40 employees that had become like family to me, packed up my house, left my husband there, and took my then 3-year-old daughter 2 hours away and checked out of my life. You don't do that unless you are in a state of crisis, right? You don't hit the reset button on everything that you've known and every picture that you've ever had in your head if you are not in crisis. And as I was doing the postmortem, because here's the thing, y'all, I don't fail. I am the prototypical type A overachiever 4.0. I'm going to do everything and do it well and better than you person. It was a really, really, really humbling experience to lose basically everything that had been important to your life that you'd worked for. And it's really, really, really humbling when it happens because you did it to yourself. But as I got really honest and I did the postmortem with like, how in the world is this my life right now? It came down to one thing, and it was that I sucked at communicating. And that was both what I was outwardly communicating, being vulnerable, being honest, and showing up in the room the way I wanted to, and that was also cluing into what the heck was going on around me. Paying attention to what people were telling me without their words. Because the most important communication that we have it doesn't come from what we verbalize. It comes from what we show, from what we express, from what we show up in the room like every day. So for me, there was really nobody else to blame. And I don't know how many of you have been in the experience of divorce and or bankruptcy, but I can tell you that they're both expensive and they kind of suck. And so I'm not interested in doing either of those things again. And I got real serious about adopting the skills and again, went into student mode to find out everything that I could find out on communication. And by happy coincidence, it landed me in the land of body language and decoding and reading people and understanding how I'm showing up, how I'm standing here showing up for you guys right now, right? There is a science behind it, and how you're experiencing me is not something that I leave to chance. I fell down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper and ended up being a certified forensic interviewer. So that is I specialize in a method of non-confrontational interviewing, and I can do that private sector or public sector, so I can do it for companies or I can do it for law enforcement. I can still do a heck of an interrogation. So if anybody has anyone here that you need to get the truth from before I leave, just pull me aside at cocktail hour and let me know who I need to go talk to and what you need to know. I have a 13-year-old daughter now. She hates it. She hates everything about the fact that I know how to read people and claims that I'm systematically destroying her opportunity to be a teenager. I love it. I'm like, go lie at your dad's house. He doesn't know any of this stuff. But I hope if one thing from my story, well, two things from my story, right? Communication changes your life. I'm witness. I'm positive evidence to that being a fact. And secondly, I hope you know how much I love this and how much I know the power that it can transform you and how happy I am to be here. So that's a little bit about my story, but we're done with that now. So we are going to talk about your winning conversation strategy and what most people lose the opportunity to maximize is the things that happen before you open your mouth. It's the planning. It's the strategy, it's the thoughtfulness and the intention that you set before you even start interacting with people. So we're gonna start at the beginning, and it's not when you're standing in front of somebody. So what we're gonna do is talk about how you can enter into an interaction by identifying what your goals are. Because if you have a goal, if you know the experience that you want to create for somebody on the other side of you, and I'm not talking again about deadlines or contracts or something definitive, I'm talking about the experience of someone being in conversation and interaction with you. How often do we think about that? Right? You get what you get. Hope you're in a good mood to receive me because I'm not putting any strategy into this. Right? We set ourselves up for failure. We miss a lot of opportunities. So thinking about your primary goals. For me, when I am about to engage in a conversation, and a high consequence one at that, where there's actually something of value attached to it, there's a couple of goals I like to zero in on. And what you can think about here is if I act in such a way that I will create the experience for the person that conveys this quality. So for instance, trust. If my goal for this interaction is for you to trust me, which it is, I need you to say at the end of that interaction, I feel safe with you. I feel physically safe with you. I feel psychologically safe with you. If my goal is likability, I want you to say at the end of our time together, I really enjoyed being in the same space with you, right? To have a warmth, to have a rapport, to have a friendship. If your goal at the end of conversation is to have somebody have trust in your competence, you want to bring that person to a place where they say, I trust that you can do what you say you can do for me. If your goal is reassurance, that's where you can say, you're making a great decision or you're making the right move. That's you taking them, partnering with them, showing them that you support them. If my goal is to convey value, I want them to say to me, I really feel like you saw and you heard and you were in this space with me and were present. I really feel valued through this interaction. If your goal is to provide pain relief, you would know you've achieved that if they say to you, you really helped solve my problem. Or I see the solution now. And if your goal is recognition, they would be able to say, I feel like I've really won with you. Right? I feel like there's a victory. I feel like we've accomplished something here. And depending on your conversation, depending on the outcome that you're tracking to, you may zero in on one of those goals. You may have 2 or 3 of those goals that would really optimize your interaction, or you may load the whole boat on and try to really knock it out of the park and get your client or your counterpart in your conversation to be able to check off that entire list. But what's so important about setting the goal for an interaction before you engage is that it helps set your mindset and your intention and your focus on the experience for your for your counterpart. And so often we rush into a meeting or we rush into a conversation, even with our families, where we just know what we want to say. And we're so in our head and so ready to just puke it out all over them that we don't even really stop to think about how can I better manage how they might experience what I'm about to tell them, right? And then that's where conflict and all sorts of things can come in. So you want to set your goals. You also, before you engage in a high consequence conversation, you want to really think about who are you talking to. And this isn't the name of the person. Hopefully you know that, or will know by the end of your time together. But this is really the concept of building a conversation persona. And there's lots of ways that you can gather information to start forming your persona. You can look for research. Google them. Be careful. And filter very carefully. And use a lot of discretion. But you can Google people. You can research them on LinkedIn or social media profiles. You can ask other people about their experience, or you can draw on previous experience that maybe you've had with them directly or something that they've conveyed publicly. So there's lots of ways that you can start formulating your theory. And that's really what you're doing. You're running an experiment here where you say, based on what I know, here's what I think is sitting across from me. And then you test it, and you test it by asking questions. And then you can change your answers. But I want you, because you had a moment with person 1 and person 2 earlier, you had a moment to share some things. So as we're going through this list and expanding on this a little more deeply, I want you to be forming your hypothesis about the person that shared information with you. See how many of these you can fill in as we go through. And then if you're really brave, you can share it with them after and see how close you were. Right? So the first idea is the idea of title. Title can be deceiving, and it is not our end goal. Title can be helpful, especially if you're working in a really hierarchical, org chart-driven environment. But what's more important than title is vetting out if the person or people across from you are the right people, if they can make the decision or take the next step forward with you based on your goal for the conversation. So it's more about span of authority or ability to make decision than it is a title on a business card. You want to know what their need or their pain is, right? So if you're talking to someone, a customer who recently has had, a downgrade in service or has a glitch, you can pretty much guess based on their service record maybe what you need to be prepared to address, or what solution you need to bring with you when you walk in the door. So you're looking for, again, hypothesizing around what their need or their pain could be, what solution you could bring into the conversation. And then this is a fun one, fear. Because fear drives more decisions than certainty ever could. This is the stuff that could keep the person up at night. So if you're thinking about, I'm about to engage in a conversation with someone, what might keep them up at night? What might they have insecurities around? What might they feel uneducated on? What goes wrong? What's the consequence or punitive damage if this person feels like they make the wrong decision? And if there isn't anything else that you filter out in your persona before you engage in a conversation of high consequence, spend some time thinking about what fears that person might have. Because if you can meet the fear need and you can disarm it, you can move a conversation faster that way than with any other tactic here. The next thing to hypothesize on is significance, and that is the idea of what makes this person feel important. That's all we really want. There's so many times when you get home at the end of the day and you've had tons of transactions, you've done lots of things for lots of people, but have been completely invisible from a real high-quality interaction standpoint. We all feel it. We've all been there. You can pick up clues about what someone finds significance in by looking at what do they have around them. What do they mention to you during small talk or at the dinner table as you're conversing? You're looking for clues if it's experience or possession, right? Somebody might have a lot of memorabilia in their office or collect ticket stubs and have them displayed or some sort of experience-related things. If their primary source of significance is their children or how they parent, that might be what they lead the conversation off with, or they might have a lot of pictures of their kids around. If their significance need is based around being recognized for their education, they might be the one with the wall full of credentials. People are giving you clues based on what they have around them and what they share with you, and leading you right into recognizing what makes them feel important. Everybody wants to feel significant, so we're always leaving a crumb trail to help people draw the right conclusions about us if you just listen and are intentional about it. The next area of persona is expectation. That's really asking yourself the question, what does this person think they're going to get from me? Or what does this person think is going to happen in this interaction? The more familiar, the more known, or the more to plan then that you can move that conversation, the better the outcomes, because you are providing what that person expected prior to going into it, right? We like to be smart. We like to think we're right up front. So the more you can confirm, oh yeah, I knew exactly how this was going to go, the more open I'm going to be and the less resistance I'm going to give you as you move forward towards your outcome. And then we all love a good victory. What makes this person feel like they've won? For some people, it doesn't count as a win unless I had to negotiate or fight for it. Right? So build in a little drama. Right? For some people, it's I need tangible proof. I need a press release. Right? Tell people about how great I am. You know, and for other people, it's simply meeting their primary objective, being effective. But if you can pinpoint 1, 2, 3, or all of these prior to engaging in a conversation that really does have a high consequence to you, your odds of outcomes become significantly better. You've set your goals. You've developed your persona, so you have a really good idea, not just name or title of who you're talking to, but you know a little bit about what makes this person tick, what makes them feel good, what makes them feel like a winner. So now what do? Now you got to talk to people, right? Now you have to talk to people. So what we're going to get into now is moving into 5 strategies that are actually the implementation plan for winning at a high consequence conversation. The first one is to be intentional. It's not just showing up on your phone or closing out an email or rushed and sitting down and letting out a sigh and being like, okay, let's go. Right? Being intentional starts before you get in the car, you walk into the room, or you dial into a Zoom call, however you're communicating. There's so many ways that conversations are happening now. This applies to all of them. And again, if you're guided by the experience that you want to create for the person on the other side of your face, this gets a whole lot easier. So the first step to being intentional is setting your internal GPS. That is thinking about the feeling and the outcome that you hope to have when you say goodbye. Starting at the end, reverse engineering. If you know, hey, I want to feel like we had a great partnership and that we have a clear next step, it is so much easier to reverse engineer that. And when you set your internal GPS, guess what? The rest of you, your physical form, your body language, your vocal tonality, your facial expressions, they all join the team, and they start easily and naturally moving you towards that win. Because you've told it where to go, you've told it what experience you want to create, and the rest of your body's like, heck yeah, I'm in, let's go. So it really does help set naturally everything else without you having to think so darn hard about how you need to show up in a room. All right, the next thing to be intentional is your 3 words. This is a super simple exercise. I do it with every group that I'm with and all of my clients. And here's what I want you to do. Everybody's got pen and paper in front of you, right? Or if not, grab it. There's some on the tables. Here's what I need you to do. And I'm not even making you stand up for this, so really. How hard is it? Okay, here's the challenge. If you and I were to meet and we spoke for 60 seconds and then you walked away and somebody came up to me and said, what did you think about him or her? What 3 words, and we'll use this context here today, what 3 words would you hope I would use to describe you? Write them down. All right, now we already know that we are in a room full of winners, because everybody had a win earlier. And we already know that we are in a room full of seekers and builders, because everybody's working on something that they're excited about. But I want to know from a couple of people what your 3 words are. So who are the brave ones in the room that'll share your 3 words? Yes? Oh, too late. Already saw you. 3 words. Kind. Helpful. Intelligent. So good 3 words, right? Give them a round of applause. See, if you talk, you get applause. Thank you. All right, let's hear a couple more. Somebody on this side. Stand up, speak loud. Come on, you're eating into my time. I got fun stuff to talk about. Motivated, intelligent, engaged. Good, round of applause. All right, 2 more. Usually we do one from every table, but y'all got a lot of tables here, so we're gonna do. Somebody in the back, stand up, yell loud. Yes, sir. Confident, social, conversational. Good, all right, one more from this back room, somebody. I want everybody to have a chance to earn imaginary gold stars today if they want to. Yeah, cheerful, positive, energetic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What happens if we were to go through everybody's, usually we do sticky notes on the wall and read through a bunch of them, but here's what happens in a room full of winners and a room full of people that are working on things that they're excited about, you're gonna start to see some similarities, right? You're gonna see that you want people to trust you, you want people to like you, you want people to believe that you can do what you wanna do, and you want people to like to be in the same space with you, right? There's a lot of commonality. We all, like everybody's like special little snowflakes, I swear, but like really we're more alike than we are different, right? We're all driven by the same thing. So think about your 3 words. You're gonna hear that again when we wrap up today, so like don't forget that really complicated exercise we just did, because I'm gonna give you homework. You're welcome in advance. But we'll circle back on the 3 words. And then the third component of being intentional prior to your conversation is the idea of being on before you're on. It is not okay, like it would not be okay if I came in and screwed around like a lunatic until I got up on the stage and then all of a sudden, I'm here to work, right? It's not okay to be flying around and flustered and distracted and then walk into a meeting with a client or a customer or a teammate and then think they're gonna perceive that you're ready to do business with them, that you're prepared to be present with them. You need to be on before you're on. The perfect example of this, a few years ago, I was at, there's an event here in Indianapolis called Innovation Showcase. And it's for tech entrepreneurs, and this year the format was, they had like 80 people pitching and everybody got 60 seconds. And in the middle of the room, it was a wide open room, there was about 1,000 people, investors and partners and people there for all sorts of different reasons. But what was really fascinating to me, because I go places just to creep on people, right? So I'm creeping on things, like I was downstairs in the coffee shop earlier, so some of you guys should be nervous. What was really funny is that the people who weren't pitching were lined up along the side of the room and thought they had on like a cloak of invisibility. Some of them were flipping through note cards furiously. Some of them were screwing around on their phone. Some of them looked like they wanted to throw up. right? Like they thought we couldn't see them, but they were already forming their first impression. And we're going to talk about that. And yet when they got on stage and they got in the spotlight, you saw a totally different persona. And what that does is it creates confusion. If people think one thing about you and then you show them something else, which do they believe? So being consistent, being congruent, and being on before you're on can really set the stage for a great conversation. We're going to keep moving to number 2. So we alluded a little bit there about first impression and how those are formed. But really the key with any first impression is making it people to draw the right conclusion about you by providing positive evidence. That's it. We make first impressions this big, mythical, scientific thing with all of these nuances, and it's really not. It's really about how quickly can I get you to see me how I want you to see me? Or conversely, how quickly can I screw it up and make you not want to know me? Those are usually the two ways that coin flips, right, for first impression. So there's an acronym for first impressions, and it's important to know that first impressions really, like, you don't have a lot of time going on. And people don't like to change their mind. So the first acronym for the word pain, because that's exactly what first impressions can be if they're not managed well, is that it's permanent. We and our giant egos want to be right away. So I'm going to collect a little bit of data about you, and I'm going to thin slice my opinion of you, and then that is the person that you have become to me. Until and unless you provide so much overwhelming evidence to the contrary, then I might think about changing my mind. So where people land on you initially is where they really want to anchor in and stay with you. So if you make a bad first impression, guess what? You got to work really freaking hard to right the ship. Not only do you have to get to neutral, but then you have to start building that positive credit too. That's a lot of work. I don't want to work that hard. I'm lazy. I want to just make a good first impression and help provide continuing evidence so I keep myself there. Right? How many, just out of curiosity, where are most of you making your first impression right now? And first impression can be a reintroduction to somebody too. It doesn't have to be like a completely unknown entity. Anybody make some first impressions here today? Yes, you did, whether you like it or not. Right? We make our first impressions in person. We also make our first impressions electronically, and not just on Zoom calls or video calls or WebEx chats. We also have digital footprints now. And a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but before I meet somebody, like this morning I was meeting a woman that I hadn't met before, you better believe I creeped her on LinkedIn before I showed up. Right? If nothing else, just to know who I'm looking for so I don't ask 20 random women if they're Sue. Right? But I already had a first impression of her before she walked in because I had met her online. So the experience of being in the same space with somebody either affirms what I already think I know or causes pause and consideration to challenge what I think I know. So first impressions aren't just happening when you're walking into a room and meeting somebody new for the first time. There's a lot of places you need to manage your digital footprint. If you haven't given your LinkedIn profile a look recently, put it on your to-do list because it matters. From the PAIN acronym, the A is accurate. We as humans have been gifted a pretty quick, pretty accurate brain, which is awesome. It helps keep us alive, which is what a big part of our brain is there for. But we just naturally, without any specialized training in people reading, we come in at about 73% accurate on our first impression of somebody. That means we assign qualities that are actually true about that person prior to having any additional evidence to support it, based off first impression alone. We are getting quicker at this, thanks to the speed of technology. Think about how fast you scroll through social media. If anybody's in the right swipe, left swipe lane, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? It's split-second decision. In or out, yes or no, good or bad. It's going to continue to get faster. The I is for instant. We talked about speed. Studies traditionally said we had about 7 seconds when we came into somebody's physical space that they would evaluate us prior to making a first impression judgment about us. Now, interestingly enough, goldfish will give you 9 seconds of consideration. Humans don't have time for that. We're busy, right? And it's getting faster, it's instant. And in that first 7 seconds, we are deciding yes, no, good, bad, but we're also deciding, could this person potentially be a threat? Do I feel safe with this person, or do I need to activate my freeze, fight, flight response? Is this person a friend? Do I like being in this space? Do I feel safe in this space? Do I want to continue this engagement? Or somebody enters our awareness and we instantly forget them. Neutral. Neutral is gray space. It's the no man's land of first impressions. You do not want to be neutral. I would far rather land on the side of suspicion and threat and provide lots of evidence to win over onto that friend side than to just not even warrant a second of your attention. Right? My ego can't handle that. I need validation. Right? So you're going for managing your first impression, turning off the alarm bells, and getting into that friend zone as quickly as possible. Excuse me, the N is for nonverbal. This is something that we don't often leverage to our advantage, but it can hurt us frequently. The nonverbal component of first impression is the challenge to what you're saying verbally. Before you open your mouth, based on how you walk into a room, based on how you sit down in front of me, based on how you're standing, based on how you're showing up on a video call, I have already started to form my first impression. If you then present yourself verbally in a way that does not match, or a way that's different, like anybody ever get the, how are you? I'm fine. Really, are you? Your words say you're fine. Your nonverbals are telling me a different story. What you need to know about this component is that if there is incongruency, if words do not match body language, people will instinctually believe your nonverbal communication. Are you managing that? Are you leveraging that? Are you even being mindful of that as a tool that could hurt or help you? It matters. First impressions, permanent, accurate, instant, and nonverbal, and they happen the moment you're seen, not the moment you open your mouth. Oh, I hit the red button instead of the big green button. I've been trained better than that, just so you know. Our AV team has done a great job of telling me it's the big green button. Okay. The other part of conversation management, if you want to get to the outcome that you seek, is you must build trust. Trust is a cornerstone component of any format of conversation. Electronically, in person, digitally, it doesn't matter. If I don't feel safe with you, I cannot listen to you. That is lizard brain kicking in. Until I know I can trust you, until I know that you're an area of safety for me, can't listen. So there are some body language tactics that you can use if you're in someone's physical space that will help gain trust quickly. And it's easier than you think. So because we have kind of our caveman brain to thank, our limbic brain, whose only job really is to keep us alive, it is always scanning for threats. Knowing that, what do you think the first thing, like what do you notice first about somebody when they walk into a room? Just throw out some answers. Smile.
Their cologne.
Cologne. Okay, we'll go with that. What else do you notice? Just got a bunch of cologne noticers here, or is there anything else? Posture. Attire. Right, so there's all these things that we think we notice first. But eye tracking studies show that the first thing that we look at when somebody comes into our presence, physically or electronically, is their hands. Hands are our trust indicators. Until someone can clearly rule out that you could be a threat, they have to keep the alarm on the ready. So if something as simple as walking into a room to meet someone for the first time, keeping your hands loose and visible by your side can turn off that alarm, why would you not do it? You have to satisfy that initial safety need to build trust, or you're not going to get anywhere in your conversation. The other way you can gain trust with your hands is by using controlled gestures. Gestures, when applied appropriately, not in traffic, right? I'm a big fan of that gesture, but I won't do that here, right? They convey some strong meaning sometimes, right? When you're communicating with someone, if you can use gestures to help bring them clarity, whether it's counting through the steps of a process, as I've done here several times today, whether it's moving people through, whether it's illustrating big or small. Using controlled and appropriate gestures provide clarity for the other person, and it helps them trust you more quickly. Are you being strategic on your gestures? I will tell you, some of y'all saw me like running through this again and rehearsing again because I really, really care about the experience I'm creating for you while I'm up here. I choreograph and I practice my nonverbals and my gestures as much as I do my content. Because I want you to have clarity about what I'm sharing, and I want you to trust me. So now all you're going to just be staring at my hands the whole time, aren't you? But at least you trust me. You know I'm not a threat. Right? And then the third way that we can really leverage our hands to build trust is something basic, something that you have probably done here at least 10 times today, and that is the handshake. And I always get this look when I mention handshakes. Why are you talking about this? So I'll ask the question, and if we don't need to talk about it, we won't. How many people in this room have ever been the victim of a horrible handshake? Anybody's face pop up in your head that you avoid? Right. Okay, so we have victims in this room, so to prevent anyone here from being a victimizer or a perpetrator, we're going to go through the perfect handshake formula, because whether you want to admit it or not, handshakes convey a lot about power dynamics. And you need to know how to both give a great American classic business handshake, and you need to be able to decode what you're getting back. Because if somebody's giving you an inappropriate handshake or doing an extra power grab, it could indicate that their intentions are different than maybe what you think they are. So here's the formula. The formula is to approach and maintain vertical throughout. What happens if you turn somebody's wrist? What happens, what are you conveying if you offer a palm up? Other than that, you're weird, right? What about like the swoop and crush? How many people feel good about any of those? Power dynamics. What experience are you creating? Handshakes do a lot of it. The second component is that, and I hate that I have to say it, but I do, is that it's dry. Anybody ever been slimed? It's awesome, isn't it? Right? It's dry. And here's the thing that I get, especially from executives when I'm talking about this, is they're like, well, what if it's not? Right? So the very complex maneuver for fixing a not dry handshake before extending it is to swipe it down your pants or your skirt or your jeans. Super technical. Feel free to practice with me if you want to. Right? And then if you want to really be a charismatic genius, you say something like, I care too much for you to give you anything but my best handshake. Boom. Likeable. You're amazing, and you're a human just like me. This is going to be fun. So vertical, dry, and then firm but not too firm. Anybody ever get one of these? How great does that make you feel? It's like, what do I even do with that? Anybody ever misfire and like do that weird, crazy finger grabby thing? Right? Happens a lot. Again, a chance to call a do-over. A chance to call a do-over. And I'll tell you, this is powerful, and most people's egos are too big to do it. But college students, God bless them, I love them. First day of an internship at an accounting firm here in town, I did communications training with their incoming students. And we talked about the perfect handshake formula and what happens if you misfire. If you misfire, find a clever way to call a do-over, because you don't want to be the person who doesn't know how to shake hands. It'd be much better to be the person who knows how to correct a bad handshake, right? Jobs. People like innovative thinkers. So the next day, one of the partners comes up to the training manager and says, "What did you teach these kids last night or yesterday about handshakes?" And he said that he shook hands with one of the students, and they did the weird finger grabby misfire thing. And the student said, "I care too much about what you think about me to not give you my best handshake. Can we do it again?" He knew the kid's name, he knew his major, he knew what school he was in, and he was excited about it. It matters so much. So here's what I want you guys to do real quickly, just to make sure everybody's good. If anybody needs a little special extra time with me afterwards, let me know. But find 2 or 3 people and give them your very best perfect handshake. There's an added bonus here that you'll find out about when we're done. And you don't have to wander around the room, just find some friends close. All right, thank you so much. Please find your seats. I'm still on a timer. Thank you guys so much. So here's why the sharing of perfect handshakes is one of my favorite things. Because it's never just about sharing handshakes. It is almost impossible to shake hands with someone without having some sort of warmth or dialogue exchange, some sort of humor made present, and some sort of positive vibe created. And you're actually changing, when you shake hands, you're changing the physiology of you and the person across from you. Every time there is skin-on-skin contact in the form of a handshake, you create a chemical in your bloodstream called oxytocin. Oxytocin sometimes is called the cuddle hormone. It's used therapeutically for babies that are premature. They do a lot of skin-to-skin time. You just all created that, so you have a little oxytocin buzz going on. Hopefully that carries you through until cocktail hour, right? You're welcome. There's not even an extra charge for that. It's part of the program. All right, so let's keep moving towards winning our high consequence conversation. These are the ninja skills right here, you guys. These are the things that if you pay attention and you get really good at decoding, there is not a conversation that you cannot figure out and move to your advantage. I guarantee it. Most of my work is spent on reading other people. I have companies that bring me in and give me some sort of title about something that's related to their company and sit me in to read negotiations. This is game-changing stuff here. And you can read somebody and collect a ton of really useful data in 60 seconds or less. So the 4 elements that we're going to have you scan, you can do in 60 seconds or less, and you can do it to every single person that you meet. Now, it takes a lot of energy to pay that much attention to people. But what's your end game? What are you going for? Is it worth 60 seconds of your energy to take time and read somebody? So the first thing that you can read is confidence cues. Confidence cues are twofold. They show you kind of the mental state, readiness, or confidence level of the person coming in to engage with you. And it also is what you're displaying that lets people know how confident can they be that you're actually going to show up and engage with them. So I have a couple of volunteers here, and we're going to see if we can decode these entrants. So Mukti Patel? Let's just watch how she takes the stage here, and then we're going to collect some evidence about her entrance. All right. Do we decode that as high confidence or low confidence? Give me the evidence. Right. Did she look like she knew where she wanted to go? Did she look like she was happy to be there? And did she look like she was ready to engage when she landed on the stage? How excited would I be to enter into a conversation with her now? She's ready to go, right? I trust, I have confidence in her that this is going to be a really good use of my time, right? All right, let's give her a round of applause because she got drug up here against her will. All right, so now we're going to share some time with Howard. Same thing, collect some evidence. Use your people reading skills here to see what Howard brings to the table for us. Assuming Howard comes to the table at some point. Ladies and gentlemen, Howard. All right, give me the evidence. High confidence, low confidence. Why? What story did he just tell us? No eye contact, hesitant. Did he look like he wanted to be here? Did he look like he knew where he was going? Did he look like he was ready to engage and make a useful effort of my time? Right? How often do you, to some degree, walk into a meeting to engage with somebody and you're basically doing that? If you're on your phone, oh yeah, 1 minute, got to finish this call, boom. My confidence that you're ready to engage with me goes down. Right? All right, let's give Howard a round of applause. I won't say it was a hostage situation that got Howard up here, but it might have been. Okay, so you're decoding confidence cues. You're decoding eyes. Eyes tell you a ton of information about not just how ready people are to engage with you, but they tell you about what their intentions are towards you. So with the eyes, there's two things you're looking for. There's eye contact, which is how much am I looking at you. Ideally, on a spectrum, you're going for 60 to 70% of eye contact throughout an interaction. That is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Don't be a weirdo about it. That gets people's trust down for a different reason. Right? But eyes also have gazing patterns, so you want to be looking to see if someone is being respectful towards you or maybe doesn't feel quite comfortable with you or doesn't have a relationship with you. Their eyes will be going in a pattern that goes eye, forehead. You'll notice as you talk to them that their eyes are moving up your face. That means you haven't quite got to the friend zone yet. When somebody feels familiar with you, you feel known, you have a relationship, coworkers, clients that you like, family members that you like, right? They're going to look down your face, eye, mouth. The more we like people, the more we look at their mouths. We're weirdos, but we just do it. Right? So pay attention to where people's eyes are going, what direction. It tells you kind of where you are, helps you give a temperature to the interaction. Hands, we talked a little bit earlier on the scan of trust. So you're evaluating the handshake. You're evaluating, are the hands visible? You're also evaluating changes in hand placement. So if you start talking about terms or deliverables or amounts and all of a sudden their hands go from on the table and expressive to under the table, red flag. Variance. People's putting their hands in fists shows that they're under stress or they might be angry. It's a good thing to look for de-escalation. Hands tell you a lot. But feet, I'll tell you, feet are where the magic happens, you guys. Feet are the most honest part of our body, and they're the part we manage the least. So in interrogation shows, now you'll notice it all the time, there's always an officer sitting off to the side to observe, and you can always see under the table to the suspect during questioning. Why? Because when they think they've gotten away with something, their feet start tapping. They call it happy feet. They're fooling you, they're tricking you, their legs get really excited. It's where they express that energy. Feet are great because they also point where they want to be. So if you're not sure if someone's enjoying your company or not, look down at their feet. Are they facing you or are they facing the bar or the exit or the bathroom? Feet always point where people want to go, so don't think I haven't been looking at your feet to see how many of you are pointed towards the exit right now. Thank you for not being most of you. Quick scan, 60 seconds or less, 4 things to decode. And then finally, to wrap it up, you've set your goals, you've identified your conversation persona, you've managed your first impression, you've built trust, and you've decoded people from head to toe. in 60 seconds. Now it's time to make adjustments and optimize. This is not a one-time thing. You need to constantly be taking the temperature of your conversation, especially when stakes are raised or when circumstances have changed. You want to do the scan again. You want to start reaffirming trust. You want to start using all of the tools that I've taught you today to win at high consequence conversations throughout the entire time. Conversation is not a static environment. It is a dynamic environment, and you always need to be taking a temperature. The best question you can ask as I wrap things up today is this what you expected? It's a non-threatening, non-confrontational question that opens up a dialogue and will help you collect more data about maybe what people need to know more of, what problem they need you to solve, or what they're still looking for you to provide. So you have your 5 strategies for the game plan. There's not a single conversation that you should enter into that you can't win at. And my challenge for you as we wrap up today is for the next 3 days, I want you to take a mental note of the 3 words that you would like someone to say about you when you leave that room for every room you walk into. This will automate that intentionality process in your brain, and if nothing else changes, but that, I promise you that will improve the conversations that you're having. I would love to connect with you. If you want to take your phone out and grab a picture of this slide, I want to know how you're using this information to win at your high consequence conversations. I want to answer any questions that you might have. We didn't have a lot of time for Q&A. I will stick around a little bit between sessions here. But I want to know how you're using this to win. Thank you so much for sharing your time today and letting me share what I love with you.